Now let's go to the revision of anterior abdominal wall. First of all, let's see the skin of the anterior abdominal wall. It is stretchable, but excessive stretching can lead to formation of white lines known as linea albicantis. Then the next thing which we see in the skin of the anterior abdominal wall is the umbilicus. Umbilicus is the remnant of the umbilical cord. It lies between the level of T3 and T4 vertebrae. It is a watershed area, which means that the lymphatic and the venous drainage. The direction of these both is above, in the upward direction above the umbilicus and in the downward direction below the umbilicus. Umbilicus is supplied by T10 nerve. This is the meaning of watershed area, that above the umbilicus the lymphatic and the venous drainage are upwards and below they are downwards. In the portal obstruction there is a formation of radiating pattern, and this is known as caput medusae. In the superior vena cava obstruction the drainage becomes downward, and in the inferior vena cava obstruction the pattern becomes upward. Now, there are various structures in the embryonic life which, if persistent, can lead to some conditions. Vitellointestine duct connects in the embryonic life umbilical or yolk sac to the midgut. So, if it is persistent, it will lead to fecal fistula. If only the proximal part is persistent, it is known as Meckel's diverticulum, and if only the middle part is persistent, it is known as the enterocele. If the urachus is persistent, urachus connect urinary bladder to the yolk sac. It is known as urinary fistula. Now let's say superficial fascia. Superficial fascia is just the one layer above the level of umbilicus. Below the level of umbilicus, it breaks into or it divides into superficial fatty layer known as fascia of Campo. It is devoid of fat in the penis and it is replaced by dartos muscle in the scrotum. Then we have deep membranous layer, which is known as fascia of Scarpa. It is continuous with the membranous layer of perineum, and there it is known as Colles fascia. In the median plane of the anterior wall, it is thickened to form two ligaments, which are suspensory ligament and fundiform ligament of penis and scrotum. Now, what does this fascia contains? This fascia contains fat. It contains cutaneous nerves. In the anterior abdominal wall, it contains lower 6 thoracic nerves and L1 nerve. Cutaneous vessels, these are the cutaneous arteries: anterior cutaneous artery, lateral cutaneous artery, and there are three branches of superior inguinal arteries: superior epigastric, superior external pudendal, superior circumflex iliac. Then there are cutaneous lymphatics. Above the level of umbilicus they drain into axillary lymph node, and below the level of umbilicus they drain into superior inguinal lymph node. Now let's see the muscles of the anterior abdominal wall. First is the external oblique. Its origin is from 5th to 12th rib, middle of these ribs, 5th to 12th rib. Then it's attached, the upper border is free. Its attachment from above downward is xiphoid process, linea alba. What is linea alba? All the three muscles of anterior abdominal wall form an aponeurosis in the midline known as linea alba, then umbilicus, and then pubic symphysis. Then iliac crest, and the posterior border is free. Now in the lower free border folds on itself to form inguinal ligament, also known as Paupart's ligament, and it has a hole in between which is known as superficial inguinal ring. So now 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th rib interdigitate with the serratus anterior muscle, and the last 4 ribs interdigitate with the latissimus dorsi muscle. Now internal oblique muscle, its direction is medially and upwards. Its origin is inguinal ligament, iliac crest and thoracolumbar fascia, and its insertion is lower 3 to 4 ribs, and other role are same as origin of the external oblique. Then the nerve supply of superior oblique is lower 6th thoracic nerve, and the nerve supply of inferior internal oblique is lower 6th thoracic nerves and L1 nerve. Now the another muscle is the transverse abdominis. Its origin and insertion is same as the internal oblique. Its direction is shown as here. Its origin, we also include lower 6 costal cartilage, and the nerve supply is lower 6 thoracic nerve. Lowest fibers of internal oblique and transversus abdominis fuse to form conjoint tendon, and there is a neurovascular plane between internal oblique and transverse abdominis. Aponeurosis of transverse abdominis divides into superficial and deep lamina, which interdigitate with the deep and the superficial lamina of the other side respectively. Then rectus abdominis, it has 2 heads, lateral head and the medial head. Lateral head arises from the lateral part of the pubic crest, and the medial head arises from the medial part of the pubic crest, and they go upwards vertically, and they cut 7, 6, 5th costal cartilage and insert in the xiphoid process. Now here we can see the inguinal ligament. Inguinal ligament arises from the pubic crest and will join the iliac crest. Then this inguinal ligament gives off a triangular ligament known as lacunar ligament, and this lacunar ligament gives a projection posteriorly known as pectineal ligament or the Cooper ligament. There is also a reflected part of the inguinal ligament given posteriorly, medially and the upwards. So now what happens if a person doesn't do exercise or decrease the exercise, the tone of the muscle decreases and there is protrusion of anterior abdominal wall. This condition is known as visceroptosis. Next topic is rectus sheath. Rectus sheath is the layers above the rectus abdominis muscle. Above the costal margin, anteriorly it's only external oblique. Between costal margin and the arcuate line, we have external oblique and the internal oblique. And below the arcuate line, we have all the 3 muscles. And what lies between this rectus sheath is superior and inferior epigastric artery and lower 6 thoracic nerves. Now let's see the fascia transversalis. It is the fascia lining the inner surface of transversus abdominis. So we can say, see, this is the transversus abdominis and this is the fascia transversalis. There is a upward projection like beneath the diaphragm, diaphragmatic fascia, and below it extends at the iliacus fascia, behind the iliacus, and the pelvic fascia and the pelvis. Its anterior attachment is linea alba above the umbilicus, and the posterior attachment is the thoracolumbar fascia. The spermatic cord is lined by the internal spermatic fascia. So what does this mean? This fascia transversalis in the spermatic cord form internal spermatic fascia, and in the femoral vessel it forms anterior wall of the femoral sheath. In the fascia transversalis, there is an oval opening known as deep inguinal ring. So now what is the inguinal canal? Inguinal canal is a canal connecting superficial and deep inguinal rings. So its direction will be downward, forward and medially. Anteriorly it's covered by skin, superficial fascia, external oblique. Posteriorly by fascia transversalis and the parietal peritoneum. Its roof is formed by internal oblique and the transverse abdominis, and the floor is formed by inguinal ligament. It's larger in males, and it also contains ilioinguinal nerve. Then this inguinal canal contains spermatic cord in the males and round ligament of uterus in the females. Spermatic cord. Now what are the contents of the spermatic cord? Ductus deferens and its artery, testicular and the cremasteric artery, pampiniform plexus of veins, genitofemoral nerve, and the remains of processus vaginalis. Now, the covering of the spermatic cord is inward to outward, internal spermatic fascia, cremasteric fascia, external spermatic fascia.